the AFC South, with Jacksonville and Tennessee having big off seasons and trying to become greater teams, and Houston and Indianapolis trying to stay up top, but didn't have such a good offseason, or was relatively quiet. I'm Andres. This is my football assessment of the AFC South. And I want to start right away with Jacksonville. Purely because of Nick Foles. Okay? Biggest news coming out of Jacksonville, along with Josh Allen, is Nick Foles. 4-year, $88 million deal. I feel like he's worth it. That's how much he should get. And he will prove that he's an elite quarterback. And here's why. Back in 2017, when he was with the Eagles as the backup quarterback to Carson Wentz, they had John DeFilippo as their quarterback's coach. Why is that relevant? The Jacksonville Jaguars hired John DeFilippo as their offensive coordinator. So not only there's a connection between Nick Foles and the offensive coordinator, he knows what Nick Foles likes to do on offense and how he can capitalize on the defense's mistakes. Nonetheless, I also want to go back to Nick Foles' postseason Super Bowl run. His regular season that season, not that great. Why? He just started getting back into the swing of things, okay? And he didn't have much opportunity on the Chiefs the year before. This was basically a new start for him. And man, did he capitalize. He literally blew all of our minds. We thought so wrong of him. Regular season, we all thought that when Nick Foles came up to be the starting quarterback for the Eagles, we were like, the Eagles are screwed. Their Super Bowl run is done for. They're out of it. There's no way they're coming back from this. And it stayed. Up until that Atlanta game. That Atlanta game, first time in NFL history that the 6th seed was more favored to win than the 1st seed. In percentage-wise, too. No one believed in Nick Foles and that offense. But we all knew that defense was pretty good. So I was on the ropes for this one. His stats didn't show much, and the game didn't show much either of him. 23 completions, 30 attempts, 246 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Pretty bad. That's bad because you didn't attack in the air, but you probably attacked on the ground. And that's what they did with LeGarrette Blount. 0 interceptions, that's always good. But 0 touchdowns, it's a quiet game. Doesn't show much. And it wasn't until Minnesota came along that everyone pretty much loved Nick Foles. In the Minnesota game, he had 26 completions out of 33 attempts for 352 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. And you'll see in the game, they torched the Minnesota Vikings defense. There was no saving the Minnesota Vikings from the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm pretty sure that game was the turning point for Nick Foles. Nick Foles went on a rampage. And he didn't stop there. He went into the Super Bowl, dominated New England. 28 completions, 43 attempts, 373 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Super Bowl MVP. These stats and these accolades prove that he's somewhat good, but then again, GMs are going to look at, well, let's look at the standards here. Carson Wentz went down, after the half regular season mark. Came in, didn't really know what to do, got jumbled around. He did pretty okay in the regular season. And the postseason, he got lucky, I guess. He got lucky. That's what I would say, or what I would think as a GM. You would want a quarterback that's really good. Well, he proved it, in my opinion. 2018, started 5 games. His record for those starting 5 games, 4-1. Stats were really good from start to end. Foles' magic carried on into postseason with 3-0 run. 3-0 run. I say 3-0 because there was a 3-game stretch they had to do to make it into the postseason, to beat Minnesota for that wild card spot. Nick Foles carried that magic through to the postseason, beating the Bears, stunning the Bears, actually, and then almost stunning the Saints. In that game against the Saints, a lot of people, and you should say it was Alshon Jeffrey's fault for dropping the ball. It was. Nick Foles had a perfect pass to Alshon Jeffrey, and that was the turning point of the game. Alshon Jeffrey couldn't catch it, went right through his hands, interception, end of the game. And the one key factor I loved, right afterwards, he went right to Alshon Jeffrey. He said, "Don't worry, man. It's all right. It's fine. You're a great receiver. Don't worry about it. One mistake doesn't defy your career. You'll get back next year." He kept his own head up and helped others keep their heads up after a big loss in New Orleans. That's a team player. That is a role model for every other player to look up to. And that's what Jacksonville has. They have an elite quarterback that not only is great under the lights, he is a role model for other players to look up to and to follow. But we shouldn't just talk about Nick Foles in Jacksonville. Let's talk about that offense. They acquired A.J. Cann, a guard, for their offensive line, little bolster. They acquired 2 new wide receivers, Chris Conley and Terrell Pryor, to an already outstanding, young, talented wide receiver core with DJ Chark, Keelan Cole, Marquise Lee, and then the halfbacks, Leonard Fournette and Thomas Rawls. Honestly, I think this offense is pretty explosive. I think with Nick Foles and this idea of going deep, or this mentality of going deep every play, it's going to work. The wide receiver core is more, I would say, deep threats rather than short target, like check down targets, or intermediate targets. It's more of deep threats. They're all deep threats, in my opinion. Defense, it's already been overlooked. The secondary has been overlooked. The front seven's been overlooked. Now that Josh Allen has arrived, everyone is now screaming Saxonville once again. Which they should, honestly. They got rid of cap space problems. One of them was Malik Jackson. He was underperforming for his salary, honestly. They still got Calais Campbell. They still got Yannick Ngakoue. They still got the front seven that they had before. It looks really good. Their team looks really good. Honestly, if I have a clear-cut winner of the AFC South, Jacksonville's up there. But let's go through the other teams. Next up, I have Tennessee. I mean, I like Marcus Mariota, but he has to stay healthy. I've yet to see Marcus Mariota fully healthy, fully showing off his potential ever since the season before, where they went 10-6 and made the playoffs and stunned the Kansas City Chiefs. Then Mike Vrabel came in, and that was good, I guess. He's not bad, I guess. Mike Vrabel, new head coach, new system, I guess. 9-7, decent for a new head coach. If the Tennessee Titans are going to make a mark, they better make a mark this season, because Marcus Mariota last season was not doing well, got injured, had Blaine Gabbert as their backup, which is a terrible idea. Now they have Ryan Tannehill as a backup, which I think is pretty much the same poison there. They also acquired Roger Saffold, Adam Humphries, Cameron Wake, Kenny Vaccaro. I think those are key additions to their team. They also drafted Jeffrey Simmons and A.J. Brown and Amani Hooker. Amani Hooker is safety. A.J. Brown, another wide receiver, along with Adam Humphries. There's a lot of questions surrounding a relatively quiet team. Are they good? Is Marcus Mariota good? Is the defense good? Who are the Titans? Are they going to make a mark? Who knows? But the wide receivers look good, okay? You have a young standout in Corey Davis. You have Adam Humphries, who's a clear slot receiver. He'll help you out a lot. And you have A.J. Brown, who teamed up with DK Metcalf. So there's a correlation between... there may be a dynamic duo with Corey Davis and A.J. Brown being two really good receivers on the same team. But it all ends up going back to the quarterback, which is Marcus Mariota. I don't know if he's good. Is he still in his shell? There's no glimpses of being elite. He needs help from the coaching staff. And I have seen no other coaching staff changes other than head coach, from what I've seen. Halfbacks look great, but use them correctly, okay? You have Dion Lewis and you have Derrick Henry. I was so mad when they started Dion Lewis over Derrick Henry. First off, Dion Lewis is a receiving back, okay? He's more of a receiving back than he is an elusive or power back, okay? Derrick Henry is this go-to player. Derrick Henry is a monster. You saw it in the playoffs. You saw it in the regular season before. You need to start Derrick Henry. And they didn't until the end of the season. Derrick Henry is a gem, and they've barely used him. This is a problem. Dion Lewis was overused for what he's worth. Derrick Henry was underused for what he was worth. There's a clear change that needs to be made there. Clear. Onto the defense. It's interesting. Does it look scary? Yes and no. Do they have big names? Yes. Jeffrey Simmons, Cameron Wake. Do they show up in games? The defense that they had already? Not really. They don't. Will they be good this year? Who knows? Okay? Again, I have continuous optimism towards all teams, that have made smart changes, okay? With players that they needed, key players that they've added, new coaching staff changes. I stay optimistic. But when it looks bad, when the team doesn't look that good, the season before doesn't show that it's good, I'm slowly taking away optimism towards that team. This is one of them. Tennessee has stayed relatively quiet for so long. There has been no great news ever since CJ2K, and I don't see any new news coming out until they get a new quarterback. Honestly, if they're going to succeed, Marcus Mariota needs to become that standout quarterback that they needed. Marcus Mariota is the main piece, in my opinion. Every team, it's usually the quarterback that makes the team. Marcus Mariota is not being that type of quarterback. Off the field, he's generally smart with his post-game conference, all of his interviews. He's very smart. Doesn't talk a lot. He's not a mouthpiece. But in my opinion, he doesn't show any elite talent yet. I've not seen that from Marcus Mariota yet. So it's a matter of a prove-it season, okay? And this goes for Oakland too, which I'm going to do next episode, 100%, with Derek Carr, okay? Marcus Mariota has the same situation that Derek Carr has, okay? If they don't prove it this season, they're most likely off the team, and the team has to look for a new quarterback, okay? That's the end of the story. And Tennessee, overall, I think you did very smart in the offseason But honestly, I don't believe in your team this season. I really don't. I think you're going to be at the bottom of this ranking. Now, moving on to Houston, who also had a bit of a quarterback situation. But now it's generally fixed. I say generally with a pinch of salt. Why? Deshaun Watson, okay? Is he the franchise quarterback for the Texans? Yes, definitely. Here's why. 2017 starting weeks, the 5 starting weeks that he played, he showed glimpses of stardom until his eventual ACL tear, which I was very crushed about. I actually liked Deshaun Watson, seeing him play. It was very outstanding to watch him play, especially against the Seattle Seahawks. That was amazing how he played. 2018, he shows good signs of superstar talent, but had a slow start. He developed, though. He's had a slow start, but he developed. His 2018 stats, 345 completions out of 505 attempts. That's a 68.3% completion rating, with 4,165 yards, 26 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. It's generally good. It's pretty good. The touchdown-to-interception ratio is good, more or less. Usually if the touchdowns outweigh the interceptions, it looks good. 26-9 is pretty good compared to like a 25-12. Overall, good numbers, but he needs to show better numbers in his third year. He had a slow start. He had problems with his accuracy in the beginning. And not only that, he had all of his weapons, and then Will Fuller went down. And DeAndre Hopkins became the full-on target last season. And he showed greatness. DeAndre Hopkins was great last season for Deshaun Watson and the Texans. But honestly, if Deshaun Watson's going to be that franchise quarterback, needs to show better numbers, needs to show that he's developed, that he's back, that he's 100%, that he's that Clemson quarterback that we all saw and loved against Alabama. All right? We want to see that again. We want to see that explosiveness, that excitement of watching him play. The offensive line got upgraded, which is huge, in my opinion. The Texans had huge offensive line problems early on. They added Matt Khalil, Titus Howard, and Max Sharping. All good signings, honestly. Helps Dwayne Brown, which they acquired 2 seasons before from the Seattle Seahawks. And it helps, obviously, Deshaun Watson. If I'm not mistaken, I believe I saw a big sack amount. Like, the numbers for sacks this season on Deshaun Watson was enormous. It was around 60, I believe. I don't know. I believe I saw that number. Correct me if I'm mistaken. I saw over 60 sacks on Deshaun Watson. Offensive line. New additions, Matt Khalil, Titus Howard, help out tremendously, yes. They also added Tashawn Gibson, safety, Brian Body Calhoun, another safety, and Bradley Roby, a defensive back from Denver, to help out the secondary. And I feel like there was a bit of a secondary issue last season with teams, especially if the offense didn't get going. They had major problems. It happened against the Colts in the postseason, and it happened a couple games before that. And towards the end of the season, it happened. But overall, that defense looks way better than it did a couple of years ago. 100% it did. And here's an issue that I have with their defense, especially their front seven, okay? J.J. Watt, amazing talent. Don't have any issues with him. J.J. Watt is an amazing defensive lineman. Definitely Hall of Fame worthy. He's a hard-working animal. Jadeveon Clowney. Getting improper credit. Last season I saw his stats, okay? They weren't that good compared to others. Whitney Merciless had the most tackles on the team than any other player, including Jadeveon Clowney. And Jadeveon Clowney was 6 to 7 spots below him for total tackles. And J.J. Watt led the team in most fumbles with 7. Now, I'm not saying that Jadeveon Clowney is not a hard worker, is not, a star-level talent. It's just that he's not showing it for what the Texans are making him worth. They franchise tagged him, but they didn't sign a new contract yet. And I saw a couple articles actually earlier popping up like, oh, they need to sign a long-term deal with Jadeveon Clowney. Well, yeah, he's a good talent. He's really good. But at the same time, he doesn't deserve the new contract until he shows that he's better than that. Because last season was kind of a slump compared to other seasons. As far as Houston is concerned, honestly, I feel like they're good. The halfback core is kind of iffy. Lamar Miller is an okay running back, but he's not the star running back that they need. Wide receiver core, they didn't get anyone for wide receivers. They kept the same offense, which is interesting. Will Fuller and DeAndre Hopkins as the primary receivers. I'm just worried about that offense, honestly. If anything, if the Houston Texans don't make the playoffs and they have a close to losing record, it's probably because of the offense. Most likely. That defense looks pretty good. I think they'll get along together. They'll mesh. It's going to be good. But the offense is the one problem I have. I believe if they don't get going, it's not going to look good. But it will look good for this last team, the Indianapolis Colts, which made a huge resurgence from the dead. Andrew Luck came out of the dead, out of nowhere. I believe after 2 years being injured, which was quite depressing, honestly. I love Andrew Luck. I love how he plays. I love his humility. It's great. The major story out of Indianapolis, in my opinion, and nobody's been talking about this at all, is their cap space. If you look at their offseason, and if you look at the cap space amounts, they had the second most cap space available to get star players, especially Le'Veon Bell. Now, the reason they didn't go for Le'Veon Bell is because their halfback core is young. They already have their halfback core. They have Marlon Mack as the power back and Nyheim Hines as the receiving back. It's a meshable halfback core, which a lot of teams have started to incorporate this year, which is have that one dynamic power halfback that can truck through the defense and give us a good amount of yards, and give us that check down halfback that can run through the defense and speed by them. They have it. Honestly. They grazed some of their cap space just to get key players, and that was really good. They got Devin Funchess, a new target on the offense, Pierre Desir for the defensive backs, Justin Houston to help out that front seven, and Derek Kindred to help out the safeties. All of these were smart. And then they didn't stop there. In the draft, they got Rock Ya-Sin and Paris Campbell. Paris Campbell is a speedy wide receiver. He'll help out. A lot of people saying he's the successor to T.Y. Hilton. We'll get there. Rock Ya-Sin, good defensive back. Will help out the defensive backs immensely. It was really good. I feel like this team looks really good. What needs to be said for this, you can still acquire good key players for a good amount and not go overboard. Free agency didn't go overboard with the players, got only a couple for good deals to just graze their cap space. That's it. And they didn't stop there. They went to the draft. They got Rock Ya-Sin, Paris Campbell. All of these are key additions, and they'll help their team immensely. And I think this year is Indianapolis Colts' year. They're going to go straight to the playoffs. I feel like they're the team ready to win the AFC South and ready to go in. The other three teams are very indecisive for me. But more on to the story of the Colts. Andrew Luck. He is back. He still looks really good. New weapons will help him contend. New weapons. Paris Campbell, Devin Funchess, Marlon Mack, Nyheim Hines. They're all young. With Eric Ebron too. They're going to be really good, in my opinion. Defense got good with new additions with Justin Houston, Derek Kindred, and Rock Ya-Sin. Said that. Team looks good, and perfect part is if the team needs more edge, that next offseason they can go and target big players. They still have enough cap space to target big players in the next offseason if they don't have the edge this year. Which honestly, I can see New England, going back to the Super Bowl, everything, yada, yada, yada. The team is good, okay? Colts can and most likely will win this division. I didn't run a stat. I didn't do a stat rundown. Sorry, of Andrew Luck. But I knew it. I saw how he played. I saw how well he played. Didn't really need to do a stat rundown. He's back 100%. Honestly, Andrew Luck has not missed a beat. He looks really good. The defense looks really good. The head coach doing pretty good for the team. Honestly, the Colts have a really bright future ahead of them, and I honestly don't see it slowing down. I honestly see them going pretty far. For the rest of the AFC South, it's going to be hard. I said this a lot about the AFC, and I'm going to say it a lot in the NFC too. All these teams look really good. It's just a matter of how they start and how they finish. As always, it's always going to look really good before the regular season, and when the regular season starts, we'll then see everyone's true colors and how they play. I will bring that up every single episode because I sound really optimistic, but in real life, I am just trying to portray that optimism towards those fans, that your team looks really good. And I'm warning you of other possible teams that could beat you. That's basically what I've been doing for a while with this. That's pretty much it for this episode. For the Colts and I believe the Titans, I didn't do a deeper dive, I feel like. For the Titans, Marcus Mariota, I didn't really do a stat rundown, but I did see, he's decent, okay? That Chiefs game he had against in the postseason 2017, remarkable comeback, but haven't seen any of that ever since. And they also crumbled against the Patriots right afterwards. It's just a matter of Marcus Mariota staying healthy and actually being an accurate and deadly quarterback, which almost every other team has in its arsenal. But we have yet to see. Indianapolis, Luck didn't have to do a stat rundown, honestly. I saw that T.Y. Hilton got a lot of yards along with Eric Ebron and Naheem Hines especially. Naheem Hines was third leading in receiving yards in the team. Yeah. AFC South, honestly, if I'm gonna choose a clear winner, it's the Colts. But if I'm gonna do a ranking, it would be Colts, Jaguars, Texans, and then Titans. Okay? I don't believe in the Titans, even though they had a remarkable offseason, best one out of that division. I don't believe in the Titans. I do believe a little bit more in the Texans, but the Jaguars have the bigger future with Nick Foles and that offensive coordinator combo. That looks really good. It can be pretty deadly in the regular season. I think it'll look good. Honestly, Indianapolis wins the division by a good margin. Jaguars barely make it into the playoffs. I feel like that can happen. But we'll see. That's going to do it for me. I hope you enjoyed listening. In a couple of days, or maybe actually right after this, I'll start writing more notes for AFC, East? I forget to do East, or is it West? No, it's West, sorry. Yeah, the last one I had to do is the AFC West, so I'll definitely put that out there as soon as possible. I'm sorry for the 2-week delay. It's been 2 weeks. I've been pretty busy lately, but I was finally able to sit down, concentrate, and get this done. And AFC West will be up in a couple days, and I'll try and get back to the rhythm of things. Thank you for listening. Leave a like, leave a comment down below if you feel like I've said anything wrong, or if you've liked it. Give me your opinions. Give me any ideas for any future videos. And subscribe, because you'll get more of this in the offseason, more quarterback. I'll probably go into quarterback analysis after I go through each division's offseason. And in the regular season, I'm doing week-by-week analysis, any injuries, any good updates, any bad updates, any teams that look good, any teams that look bad, any optimism. I'm going to be doing that during the regular season. So please let me know what your ideas are. Let me know what you think, and I'll be back soon.